electronics means and what are the different definitions that are available. I hope this is visible. My screen is visible, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here, according to Google, there is one of the definitions. So which the definition which is more frequently referred will always come at the first. So according to this branch, electronics is branch of physics and technology concerned with the design of circuits using transistors and microchips. So this is what electronics means. Along with that, electronics also deals with the behavior and movement of electrons in a semiconductor, conductor, vacuum or gas. So this is what electronics means. And I cannot say that this is the one and only definition to define electronics. There are numerous definitions, and also there are numerous definitions in numerous textbooks, and whatever you define electronics, it is electronics, right? So no one can deny anyone's definition regarding electronics, because electronics has penetrated in numerous areas. Each and every branch of engineering requires the help of electronics. There is no branch or there is no field where electronics is absent. So you can check civil engineering. Even though it is civil engineering, you have electronic components, gadgets which are used by civil engineers, right? If you see computer science and engineering, even though the name is computer science and engineering, the computer itself is product of electronics. I hope all of you agree with this. Without computer, the computer science and engineering can students or engineers cannot develop any software. The basement itself or the best bed for these software engineers is electronics, that is the computer, which is product of electronics. Similarly, if you check Wikipedia, there is one more definition for electronics. Electronics deals with electrical circuits that involve active electrical components such as vacuum tubes, transistors, diodes, integrated circuits, optoelectronics, sensors, and associated passive electrical components and interconnection technologies. So, like this, there are numerous definitions. Coming to the electronics, there are actually two broad ways in which you can classify this electronics. Can anyone name them? Students, do you know the broad classification in electronics? What is the broad classification in electronics? You may respond. You
No, sir.
can unmute. Yeah. Can you tell me the broad classification in electronics? I hope you have come across this in your PUC or in your 10th standard. Can you name or can you classify electronics? Broad classification, can you tell me? All right.
Capacitors in
Yes, yes. Go on. Proceed.
Transistor.
Hmm? So transistor is part of electronics. It is one of the devices which is there in electronics. I'm asking about the classification inside electronics.
capacitor, inductor.
So all these are electronic devices, or you can say components. Okay, let it be. Let us move on. So the classification under electronics, you can put it like this. So electronics, it is a study of different semiconductor, conductor, and other various materials along with the different components. So you have two broad categories under this electronics. You can classify this electronics in two ways. The first one is analog electronics, where the devices or the circuits deal with analog signals. So what is an analog signal? Analog signal is a continuous time varying signal, just like your sine wave. Okay. So the devices which come under this analog electronics are diodes, transistors. Under transistors, again, there are multiple classifications. That is BJT, bipolar junction transistor, FET, MOSFET, etc., IGBT. So many different devices are there under transistors. So you can take transistor as a family. Under this family, there are multiple members. So the examples for this analog circuit analog devices are diode, transistors, then afterwards operational amplifiers. So all these come under this analog category. Apart from that, you have one more one more part of this electronics, that is called as digital electronics, which is widely used nowadays. So digital electronics, the circuits or the devices which come under this category work on digital signal. So what is digital signal? So digital signal is nothing but a discrete signal of this continuous time varying signals. So these continuous time varying signals are sampled at regular intervals of time. Then the signal that is resultant is called as a discrete signal. This discrete signal is represented or encoded as zeros and ones. So your basic digital signal will be in the form of zeros and ones, and the devices or the circuits which make use of this digital signal for any kind of processing or communication are said to be the digital circuits. And all these digital circuits and devices come under the category called as digital electronics. So I hope this is clear. So the example for this digital circuits or the components that come under this digital electronics are all your logic gates, starting from all your logic gates, that is AND gate, OR gate, XOR gate, XNOR gate, NAND, NOR. So all these gates come under digital electronics, and the circuits which are created by making use of these gates like half adder, full adder, multiplexer, encoder, decoder, demultiplexer. So all these come under digital electronics. Again, this digital electronics, this is having again two branches in that. So the first branch is combinational circuit. The second branch is called as sequential digital circuits, right? So the combinational digital circuits are one which don't have any memory. For example, half adder, full adder, encoder, decoder, demultiplexer. So all these come under combinational digital circuits. So if you consider sequential digital circuits, so these circuits have memory capacity. So the circuits which come under this sequential digital circuits category are flip-flops. I hope you have heard about flip-flops. Then counters, registers, and the circuits which are created by making use of combination of flip-flops, registers, and counters. So all these come under the sequential digital circuits category. So I hope the classification of electronics is clear. So there are two parts of this electronics. One is the analog electronics, which work on analog signals, which are continuously time varying signals like sine wave. The devices are diode, transistor, then op amp, that is operational amplifier, and the various circuits which are made up of the combination of these diodes and transistors. So all come under the analog electronics category. Then coming to the second one is called as digital electronics. Here the signals are discrete signals which are produced by sampling at regular intervals of time. You are going to sample these continuous time varying signals to produce discrete signals. These discrete signals are in turn represented as zeros and ones. So the circuits or the components which work on these zeros and ones are put under this digital category. So examples are half adder, full adder, all logic gates, counter, flip-flops, all these are examples, right? So again, under this digital category, there are two classifications. One is combinational digital circuit. The second one is sequential digital circuits. Combination means which don't have any memory component, that is full adder, half adder, encoder, decoder. So all these come under combinational digital circuits. Sequential circuit digital circuits will have memory capacity. The components which come under this category are flip-flops, counters, registers, and the circuits which are made up of combination of these components. So I hope this is clear. So this is a brief about what is electronics and its classification. Coming to the syllabus, so this is syllabus of your second semester. The name of the subject or name of the course is Basic Electronics. The course code 18 ELN 24. So the prescribed hours of theory are 4, but in online I will take only 3 hours per week. So it is having 3 credits. Yours is choice based credit system, CBCS. So each subject will have its own credit. Based on this credit, it will give the weightage in calculation of SGPA. So the internal marks is 40, external exam marks is 60. So the objectives of this subject. So this course will enable students to understand characteristics, operation and applications of diodes, then bipolar junction transistors, that is BJT, field effect transistors, SCRs, and operational amplifiers in electronic circuits. So these are different components. So you are going to study about the characteristics. Characteristic is nothing but a graph which represents the behavior of that particular device with respect to application of voltage. So how the current flows through these devices with the application of voltage itself is the characteristic. It indicates its behavior with respect to application of voltage. So how the current responds with the application of voltage, that itself is characteristic. Then operation. What is the operating principle of these devices? How does it operate? So that is operation. Then applications. So in which are the different fields where you can make use of such components? That is what is application. So all these you are going to study. So that is one of the objective. Then apart from that, the second objective is understand different number systems and working of fundamental building blocks of digital circuits. So there are different number system. What is a number system? Number system is collection of certain symbols. For example, we have our decimal number system. So here we have 10 symbols. Which are the 10 symbols? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these are the 10 symbols. Using these 10 symbols, we are going to create a n number of values starting from 0 to plus infinity. So we are going to create n number of values using this. So this is example of decimal number system. Similarly, we have binary number system, then octal number system, hexadecimal number system. Binary number system means there will be only two symbols, either 0 or 1. So two symbols are there. Then octal number system. Octal number system means octal means 8. So there are 8 symbols. 8 symbols are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So these are octal symbols, octal number system symbols. Then hexadecimal. Hexadecimal means there will be 16 symbols starting from 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. In place of 10, capital A. In place of 11, capital B. In place of 12, capital C. In place of 13, capital D. In place of 14, capital E. And in place of 15, capital F. So these are the symbols of hexadecimal number system. So you are going to study all these and you are going to understand how to create different values using these number systems. I hope these number systems you might have studied in your PUC. So it will be very easy to again recall all these concepts. Then afterwards, working of fundamental building blocks of digital circuits. Already I told. So digital circuits means the circuits which work on zeros and ones. The circuits which work on zeros and ones are called as digital circuits. So you are studying some fundamental blocks like half adder, full adder, all logic gates. So simple blocks you are going to study. Then understand principle of basic communication system and mobile phones. So communication means exchange of information. So how to perform communications, the basic principle you are going to study. So again, in communication there are two ways, two categories. One is analog communication and second one is digital communication. So in this course you are going to concentrate on the basics of analog communication, the different modulations techniques which are available. So all these you are going to study. Then afterward, what is the basic principle in which mobile phones are going to work? So that is also you are going to study. So these are the objectives of this course. Coming to the syllabus, the first module is dedicated to the semiconductor diodes and applications. Some of you might have already studied these diodes and their related applications in your 10th standard or your second year PUC. And few concepts, few basic concepts which are required as prerequisites for this module. You have studied in fifth module of physics subject of last semester. So under this semiconductor diodes, you are going to study about PN junction diode, the characteristic and a special kind of diode like Zener diode. Zener diode. Then you are going to study about rectification. Rectification is nothing but conversion of AC to DC. So AC means alternating current. From alternating current, you are converting to direct current. Then half wave rectifier, full wave rectifier, bridge rectifier. These are different circuits which perform rectification. Then you study about a capacitor filter. Capacitor filter is one which will remove the noise or which will smoothen the output of rectifier. That is what is a capacitor filter. Then you are going to study about a special diode called as photodiode, which works on light. This diode works on light. Then you will study about LED. LED means light emitting diode, which will emit the light when the current flows through it. Then optocoupler. This is also one more diode circuit. We're going to study this. And 7, 8 XX series means these are ICs which work like voltage regulators. So all these you are going to study in module 1. So diode, you know, it is a two-terminal device which will allow the flow of current in only one direction, and it will block the current in the reverse direction. So that is what is diode. Then afterwards in module 2, you are going to study about FET. FET means field effect transistor, and also you are going to study about SCR. SCR means silicon controlled rectifier. So yeah, under FET there are different categories. One is JFET, junction field effect transistor. You are going to study the construction, operation, the characteristics, etc. Then one more category is MOSFET. MOSFET means metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor. Metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor. So this is very important device, MOSFET. So this is available in different sizes. So it is as large as your palm, and also it is as small as a single dot or a single pixel on your screen. So this MOSFET is a crucial device using which many ICs, where billions of trillions of transistors are embedded nowadays. So the transistors which are embedded on the ICs are basically MOSFETs. So the technology which is going to which is used to uh, develop ICs using billions and billions of transistors is called as VLSI, which is known as very large scale integration. And the technology used is called as CMOS. CMOS means complementary metal oxide semiconductor. So this is the technology which is very important or very crucial in construction of ICs. Then you are going to study about silicon controlled rectifier. And how does this silicon controlled rectifier perform switching action? What is the equivalent model of this? So all these things we are going to study in module 2. Then coming to module 3, you are going to study about operational amplifiers and applications. So an operational amplifier is basically a circuit of transistors. So it is made up of transistors. This operational amplifier will have two parts. The first part is a differential amplifier, which is again a circuit made up of transistors, and the second part is an emitter follower, which is also one of the BJT amplifier. So the combination of these two parts forms an operational amplifier. This operational amplifier, as the name suggests, performs different operations or different applications, hence the name operation amplifier. So you're going to study some introductory part regarding this op amp, and you are going to study the different parameters which are related with op amp and how to use this op amp to produce simple applications like inverting amplifier, non-inverting amplifier, voltage follower, integrator, differentiator, comparator. So all these you are going to study in this module. In the module 4, in module 4 you are going to study about BJTs. BJT means a bipolar junction transistor. So bipolar junction transistor, basically it will work like an amplifier. The second main thing is it will work like a switch. In most of the electronic circuits, it is either used as an amplifier or else it is used as a switch. So what are the applications of this BJT? How to use this as an amplifier? How to use this as a switch? So all these things you are going to study in module 4. Apart from that, you are going to study about feedback amplifiers. So feedback is a thing where the output of the particular circuit is taken and fed back to the input through a connection. That is what is feedback in simple terms, right? The amplifiers which use this feedback technique are called as feedback amplifiers. Amplifier is again a transistor circuit which will amplify the signal, as the name indicates. So you are going to study about these feedback amplifiers, and then you are going to study about oscillator. Oscillator is a one based on which produces oscillations. In turn, these oscillations will sustain like a signal. So such circuits are called as oscillators. So this oscillator will have two parts. One part is the transistor amplifier part. The second part is called as the tank circuit. So this tank circuit is responsible in creating the disturbances initially, or the noises. Based on this noise, uh, the amplifier will amplify these noise, and in turn these noise which was created earlier will sustain as signals later on, and these signals can be used for different applications for other circuits. That is what is an oscillator, as the name indicates. It will generate different signals. And you are going to study about different oscillators. Then triple five timer. So there is an IC called as triple five. So it is basically a timer IC. Using that IC, how to generate an unstable oscillator. So all these you are going to study. Then coming to model 5, so this is completely dedicated to digital electronics fundamentals. So you are going to study difference between analog and digital signal, and you are going to study about number system, that is binary, hexadecimal, and conversion between different number systems and all. And you are going to study about Boolean algebra. You are going to study about different gates available. Then you are going to study about simple structures like half adder, full adder, multiplexer, decoder, flip flops, shift register, and counters. So all these things you are going to study here. So Boolean algebra is a collection of postulates based on which you develop some logic for constructing a digital circuit. That is what is Boolean algebra. So using this Boolean algebra, you can perform simplification, you can create a logic, and you can create a logic equation. Using all this, you are going to build logic circuits which are collection of gates. That is how this Boolean algebra will work. going to study about the basic communication system, that to analog communication. Then you are going to study about principle of operation of mobile phone. Very brief things you are going to study. Coming to the course outcomes. So these are the course outcomes. So these are the course outcomes what we have designed. So what do you mean by course outcome? So these are the outcomes which you get after completion of this course. So you will be able to do all these following things. That is what is outcome. Outcome is different from output, right? So outcome means what are the abilities that you attain after the completion of this course. So these are the abilities that you will get after the completion of this course. The first outcome is you will be able to explain the operation of diodes, and you will be able to construct rectifiers and regulators. Rectifier is a circuit which performs AC to DC conversion. Regulator is a circuit which will make the voltage to sustain at a fixed level, even though there is input current variation or output load current variation. That is what is a regulator. Then you will be able to summarize the operating principles of field effect transistors, that is FETs, and SCR, silicon controlled rectifier. The one more name for this is thyristor. This name was used in olden days, thyristor. So it is called as thyristor or else a silicon controlled rectifier. And you will be able to develop simple applications based on these FETs and SCRs. Next is you will be able to construct arithmetic circuits and simple applications on operational amplifiers. As I already told, operational amplifiers to are meant to perform certain operations like addition, subtraction, then integration, differentiation. It can work like voltage follower. So basically, it is meant to be used in certain applications. So all those things you can create. Next, you will be able to develop simple BJT applications, feedback amplifiers, and oscillators. So BJT means bipolar junction transistor. A feedback amplifier, already I told what is meant by feedback, and oscillators. The last is you will be able to explain the basics of number systems, then digital logic, so Boolean algebra and other combinational circuits, sequence circuits, all come under this. And you will be able to explain the communication system. Not only explaining digital logic, you can use ICs and you can construct small circuits like half adder, full adder, even multiplexer, demultiplexer, decoder, flip flops, counters, all those you can construct after the completion of this course. I hope this is clear. Course outcome. As you know, our college is accredited to NBA, National Board of Accreditation. So, as per NBA, these are the course outcomes that we have framed, being your course coordinators. Then, next is the mapping of these course outcomes with respect to program outcomes. So this is the mapping of course outcomes with respect to program outcomes. So here you can see these are the course outcomes which I mentioned in the previous file. So the 5 course outcomes, and this is the mapping. If there is 3 in any particular cell, it means that it is strongly mapped with the particular program outcome. So all these are program outcomes. Out of these program outcomes, almost all the 5 course outcomes which we have designed will map with the first 2 program outcomes. So what are program outcomes? It is not compulsory for you to remember or memorize these things. This is just for your information, and it is mandatory to discuss about all this as per NBA. So National Board of Accreditation has mandated 12 graduate attributes. So graduate attributes are something which After 4 years, you will able to attain. After 4 years means after completion of BE. Based on that, there are 12 program outcomes. So the first two program outcomes are, first one deals with the engineering knowledge, and the second one deals with problem analysis. So as per the mapping of course outcomes with the program outcomes, all five course outcomes of your course are mapped with the first two program outcomes, means engineering knowledge and program analysis. Apart from that, these five course outcomes are also mapped with the first PSO. PSO means program specific outcome. So there are two PSOs which are defined by our department or our program, that is electronics and communication engineering. So these five course outcomes are mapped with the first PSO. So let us see what are those PSOs. So here you can see these are program specific outcomes. The first one, design analog and digital systems using emerging technologies. So to this program specific outcome, all the five course outcomes of your basic electronics are mapped. So I hope all these things are clear now. So coming to your actual syllabus, I hope the PPT is visible. So the course name is Basic Electronics, course code 18 ELN 24. So module 1. So this is the syllabus of module 1, and here you have two textbooks for your course. In these two textbooks, the most of the syllabus, almost all the topics of the module 1 syllabus are present in textbook 1, which is Basic Electronics, authored by DP Kothari and IJ Nagrath. So this is a second edition book. This book soft copy is available with me. If you want, I will share that soft copy in this MS Teams classroom. So I have created MS Team classroom. In this MS Team classrooms, I will share all the materials related to this course. So as per syllabus, these are the topics. The first one is PN junction diode. Then you have equivalent circuit of diode, Zener diode. Zener diode has voltage regulator, rectification. Then you have bridge rectifier, the full wave rectifier, and half wave rectifier. Then capacitor filter. In the second part of this module 1, you have photodiode, LED photocoupler. At last, you have the voltage regulators, that is a fixed IC voltage regulator 7805 series. And one more important thing is this stands for Revised Bloom's Taxonomy. So these are learning levels, right? So all these topics are mapped with L1, L2, and L3. So you are not going beyond L3 as per the syllabus. So module 1 name is Semiconductor Diodes and Application. I hope the PPT is visible. So introduction. What do you mean by diode? So diode, already you know, it is a combination of two layers or two semiconductor parts. One is P type and second one is N type, which are connected together, and it will allow the current in only one direction. So you cannot perform the conduction in the opposite direction. That is what is a diode. So these are various applications of diode. The first one is rectification. So already I told, rectification means converting AC to DC. Even though the rectification cannot perform a complete conversion of AC to DC, it will convert AC to pulsating DC. Pulsating DC means there will be noise or ripple which will be present in the output of this rectifier. Later on, we have to perform something called as processing. Means we have to filter out the noise using capacitor filter, or else we are going to filter out the ripple by using the circuit like capacitor filter, Also, after this, you may use some more circuits like voltage regulator to get a constant voltage. So the next application of this diode is voltage regulation, especially if it is Zener diode. It is used for this voltage regulation. Voltage regulation, as I already told, it is a process where the circuit which is called as voltage regulator will produce you constant output voltage irrespective of any variation in the input current for that circuit, or else any variation in the load current at the output of this circuit. That is what is voltage regulation. So it is basically a circuit which is meant to produce a constant voltage irrespective of variation of input current or variation of the output current. Output current is basically due to some circuit which you have connected as load. It can be a single resistor which is connected as load to your main circuit, or else it can be one more circuit which is connected as load to your first circuit. I think you have connected resistor as load in your basic electrical engineering laboratory. So that is example of load. Or else instead of connecting a single resistor, you may also connect a circuit as load. So that is what is a load, and the current which is resultant of this load is called as load current. Usually it will be present at the output of voltage regulator. Next is protection against high voltage. So as you know, this diode can pass the current in only one direction. So this diode can be used in something called as power electronics, where the voltage that is used will be more than 400 volt. And obviously, as the voltage is more, the amount of current which is flowing in the circuits which come under power electronics will also be more. Therefore, to protect the circuits, or to protect part of a circuit, we are going to use a diode as a freewheeling diode, which will arrow current in only one direction, and it will strongly avoid, or it will strongly cut off the current in the reverse direction. By doing that, it will protect the part of a circuit or complete circuit against high voltage. That is what is this application. The next one is wave shaping. So wave shaping can be performed by two types of circuits. The first one is called as the clipper. Hello, hello. Any problem there? Someone has unmuted. Yeah, you have any issues? Can I continue? Okay, all right. I will continue. So wave shaping, as I already told, can be done by two circuits. One is called as clipper, second one is clamper. Using that, you can alter the shape of your input signal. Suppose your input signal is a sine wave. So using this clipper or clamper, what you can do is you can cut off or you can chop out the sine waveform, and you can give it a different shape. That is what you can perform using this clippers and clamper circuits. So usually these clippers and clamper circuits, which are made up of diode, they will be used in combinations to produce this application of wave shaping. Then next, we have something called as special purpose diodes. One is Zener diode. So this Zener diode is basically used for voltage regulation. It is always operated in a reverse biased condition, and in this reverse biased condition, it will help you to realize a voltage regulator. This diode itself work like a voltage regulator. Then you have something called as LED, that is light emitting diode, which you have seen. It is basically a diode. When the current flows in a particular direction, the LED will be turned on. If the current is passed in the reverse direction, LED will not turn on, it will be off. So coming to the operation of this PN junction diode, so we should realize the operation, or we have to study the operation under three conditions. The first condition is unbiased p-n junction, and the second condition is reverse bias. The third condition is forward bias. So unbiased p-n junction diode. So what is this diode? It is a combination of p-type and n-type semiconductor which are connected to form something called as junction. So before going to the unbiased p-n junction phenomenon, first let us recall what is the p-type and n-type material. So can anyone tell what is the p-type and n-type material or n-type semiconductor? So can you distinguish p-type and n-type semiconductor? So what are they?
N-type semiconductor charge carriers are electrons, sir. In P-type semiconductor, charge carriers are
Can you
holes.
repeat later? So we have three types of materials. So the three types are, first one is conductor, right? Next one is insulator, and the last one is semiconductor. So conductor, it is good. It will have high conductivity, so it can easily allow the electricity to pass through this. The examples are all metals. All metals are good conductors. So what will happen in this conductor is the valence band and conduction band. The valence band is nothing but it is a combination of the valence electrons. Valence electrons means the electrons which are present in the outermost shell of an atom. Suppose there are some 100 atoms in a piece of metal, so the 100 100 outermost shell, that is valence shell electrons, together form the valence band of this conductor. So this valence band will be overlapping with conduction band. Therefore, the free electrons or free charge carriers in general are easily available for conduction of electricity. Coming to insulator, insulator is a bad conductor of electricity. Here what happens is the gap between conduction band and valence band will be very large. Even through application of large amount of electricity, you cannot make the electrons which are present in valence band to jump to the conduction band. Therefore, this insulator cannot conduct electricity. That's why it is a bad conductor. Coming to the last one is semiconductor. So semiconductor, what will happen is, even though the free electrons are not present in conduction band, due to application of small amount of current or due to temperature, the electrons from valence band can easily jump to the conduction band, and these semiconductors can carry current. That's why they are called as a semiconductor. So under certain conditions, they will work like a conductor, but the free electrons will not be readily available in the conduction band for the passage of electricity. Only on the application of certain amount of voltage or due to a temperature, the electrons from valence band will jump to the conduction band, and the gap between valence band and conduction band, which is called as energy gap, will be less compared to the insulator. Insulator will have largest energy gap, and this conductor will not have any energy gap. The conduction band and valence band will be overlapping. So under this semiconductor, the semiconductor in its purest form is called as intrinsic semiconductor. Intrinsic semiconductor. It is a semiconductor in its purest form. So pure semiconductor, for example, you can take silicon or germanium. So these are examples of pure semiconductor. So intrinsic semiconductor without any addition of other atoms is called as pure semiconductor or intrinsic semiconductor. This is the true form of a semiconductor, right? For this intrinsic semiconductor, if you add some impurities, so it will give you certain kind of extrinsic semiconductor. So extrinsic semiconductor. So under this extrinsic semiconductor, there are two types again. So the first one is N type. N type semiconductor, N type extrinsic semiconductor. So what is this N type extrinsic semiconductor? So it is intrinsic semiconductor, that is semiconductor in its purest form, added with added with pentavalent 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 impurities pentavalent impurities, right? So this addition of impurities is called as doping. So n-type semiconductor is formed by adding pentavalent impurities to intrinsic semiconductor. What do you mean by pentavalent? Pentavalent means the valence band or the outermost shell of this atoms will have 5 electrons. That is what is the meaning of pentavalent. So whenever this pentavalent impurity is added to intrinsic semiconductor, it will become n-type semiconductor. The second one is p-type semiconductor. So how does this p-type semiconductor is formed? Same thing. So you have to add trivalent. You have to add trivalent impurity to intrinsic semiconductor. So intrinsic semiconductor can be either silicon or germanium. To this intrinsic semiconductor, if you add a trivalent means outer shell of the atoms will have only 3 electrons, right? So if you add that trivalent impurity to the intrinsic semiconductor, it will work like p-type semiconductor. So the examples for this pentavalent impurities are phosphorus, antimony, and uh, arsenic. So these are examples of pentavalent impurities. The examples of trivalent impurities are boron, indium, gallium. So all these are examples of trivalent impurities where the outer most shell will have only 3 electrons. So in case of this n-type, what will happen is whenever this pentavalent impurity is added with intrinsic semiconductor, so intrinsic semiconductor can be silicon or germanium. The outermost shell of silicon or germanium will have 4 electrons. So if you consider silicon, it will have 4 electrons in the outermost shell. Germanium will also have 4 electrons. So this pentavalent impurity will have 5 electrons in the outermost shell. Therefore, out of 5 electrons, only 4 electrons of this pentavalent impurity atom will combine with the atoms, four other atoms of the intrinsic semiconductor, and they will form the covalent bond. So the remaining 1 electron of this pentavalent impurity atom will be free, and this free electron will enter the conduction band upon application of electricity. So electrons are majority carriers in case of this. Electrons are majority carriers in case of n-type semiconductors. In case of p-type semiconductors, what will happen is you are combining the silicon or germanium atom with the trivalent impurity. Trivalent impurity is having only 3 electrons in the outermost shell. So the 3 electrons will combine with three other neighboring atoms electrons, and they will form covalent bond. So one vacant place is left out in the trivalent atom, and simultaneously 1 electron will be left out, which is uncombined with the vacancy of this trivalent impurity atom. So that vacancy is called as hole. So holes are the majority carriers in case of p-type semiconductors, right? So combination of this p-type semiconductor material piece along with n-type semiconductor piece will give rise to something called as a p-n junction diode. Junction is nothing but the interface of or the connection between these two p and n-type semiconductors. I hope this is clear now. So here, consider this unbiased PN junction diode. So these are the series of operations which take place. So whenever you connect a P and N type, P is having holes as majority carriers, N is having electrons as majority carriers. The first step that takes place here is diffusion. The holes from P type material will recombine with the atoms of this n type. They will move towards this n region, and the electrons which are majority carriers in this n type will move towards p type, and they will recombine with the atoms in this p type semiconductor. So what will happen is, after a sufficient amount of recombination, the excess amount of electrons will come and combine with the atoms at this interface of p-n junction. So this extra electrons, what they will do is they will turn the atoms into ions. So a ion is formed by addition or deletion of an electron. For at an atom in its equilibrium state, if you add an extra electron, it will become negative ion. So these are all negative ions, right? So first thing is recombination of electrons and holes takes place. Afterwards, extra electrons from n side will combine with the atoms. Therefore, negative ions are formed, right? So whenever you remove an electron from an atom, it will work like positive. It will become positive ion. So here, when the holes come and combine with the atoms, first the extra electrons will be removed. Then later on, when excess holes and come and combine with the atoms here, they will turn the atoms to positive ions, right? So there will be two layers formed here. One is a layer of negative ions, another one is the layer of positive ions. So these two layers together, this region is called as depletion region. Why it is called as a depletion region means, these two layers are depleted of charge carriers. There will be no free electrons or free holes for conduction. Therefore, this region is called as a depletion region. So this is the one important thing, that is formation of depletion region. Whenever you connect or whenever you combine or join p and n type semiconductors, then afterwards what will happen is there is something called as minority carriers. So even though this is a p type semiconductor having holes as majority carriers, so there will be something called as minority carriers, which are electrons. Usually these electrons will be generated, or these electrons will come out of their valence band due to the heat or due to thermal effect. So these electrons, what they will do is they will tend to move towards the n-type region, because in the n-type region a depletion layer consisting of positive ions is formed. So it will exert force on these electrons, and the electrons will be pulled towards this. And similarly, the minority carriers, which are holes in case of n-type, they'll move towards this p-type semiconductor due to the formation of this layer of negative ions. So this layer of negative ions together with layer of positive ions will generate something called as electric field. This electric field is responsible for the movement of minority carriers, and at the same time this electric field will avoid further movement of the majority carriers, which are holes in the p-type semiconductor, and the majority carriers, which are electrons in the n-type semiconductor. So after attaining equilibrium, the condition will be something like this. So there will be a potential which will be developed across this depletion region. So this potential will lead to generation of electric field. This electric field will avoid the further movement of electrons from n to p, and holes from p to n, whereas this electric field will help the movement of minority electrons from p to n and the minority holes from n to p. So this is the brief description about the phenomenon which takes place in the PN junction diode in the unbiased condition. So this is the one terminal which is called as anode, and this is the second terminal which is called as cathode. Anode is also called as positive terminal, cathode is the negative terminal. So the remaining topics will be discussed in the next class. So I will just check out the attendance. So as per the login report, we have 58 attendees. So there are 58 students who have attended. One more important thing what I wanted to tell you is till you get the login credentials, please log in with your name along with the attendance. That will be helpful in tracking you. This is very clear instruction from the higher authorities. You should log in with your name and USN till you get the MS Teams password and username. After getting MS Teams username and password, directly you can log in. Your login report will be available. Okay, then it's already 10 o'clock. You may leave this session and you may join the next class. Thank you.